Hello, welcome to English Wizard. In this video, I'm going to talk about one of the core elements of English grammar, that is indirect speech. Not only the students but also the teachers who teach the English language, they find it hard to explain this topic to the students. I'm making this video to help you understand the topic better. I'm sure if you watch the video till the end, you will have a clear idea about indirect speech. Before we proceed, let's find out the difference between direct and indirect speech. Before getting into the topic, I'll tell you what direct speech is and what indirect speech is. Let's find out the difference first. The main difference between direct and indirect speech is in direct speech, we use the actual words of the speaker, the exact words used by the speaker, but in indirect speech, we don't use the actual words of the speaker. We report what somebody has said. While reporting, though the matter or the content remains the same, we try to report it using different words. That is the difference between direct and indirect speech. I will explain it with some examples. It will become clear to you. Look at these sentences. There are four sentences here. The first one, he said, I am fine. This is in direct speech. When sentences are written in direct speech, quotation marks are used. You can see here. When we report it, when we write it in indirect speech, it becomes he said that he said that he was fine. You can see the difference between these two sentences. He said, I am fine. It's in direct speech. While reporting or when we write it in indirect speech, we remove the quotation marks and write like this. He said that he was fine. This one, John said, I will call back. John said that John said that I changes to he would call back. John said that he would call back. Third sentence, she said, what's the matter? Since this is a question, an interrogative sentence, we need to use the reporting verb asked. She asked what the matter was. What the matter was. Last example here. They said we have finished it. They said that they we changes to they had finished it. They said that they had finished it. I have used these four sentences just to introduce the topic. Now I'm gonna talk about the rules that we need to follow while changing sentences from direct to indirect speech and the points we should bear in mind while converting sentences from direct to indirect speech. To begin with, one of the most important rules that we need to bear in mind while reporting a sentence or a statement while changing sentences from direct to indirect speech is reporting verbs. It's necessary to use reporting verbs while changing sentences from direct to indirect speech. I have written here some of the important reporting verbs that we can use while converting sentences into indirect speech. They are said, told, asked, replied, requested, inquired, advised, agreed, answered, suggested, stated, pointed out, added, noted, claimed, admitted, refused, ordered, denied, etc. How to use these reporting verbs in indirect speech? I will explain it later. We have learned that reporting verbs should be used when we change sentences from direct to indirect speech. The second aspect of grammar that we need to know while reporting is pronouns. Pronouns, how to change pronouns from direct to indirect speech. As you can see here, the pronoun I changes to he or she. This pronoun my changes to his or her. The pronoun me changes to him or her. You may have a doubt when to write he and when to write she. I will explain it with some examples. Look at this sentence. John said, I am studying. John said, I am studying. When we write this statement or sentence in indirect speech, it becomes John said that he was studying. John said that he was studying. We write he in place of I because John is speaking. Look at this sentence. Sophia said, I am studying. The same statement, when made by Sophia, it becomes in indirect speech. We write, Sophia said that she was studying. You can clearly see the difference here. When John said in direct speech, I, it changes to he. Look at this sentence. Sophia said, I am studying. The same statement, when made by Sophia, it becomes in indirect speech. We write, Sophia said that she was studying. You can clearly see the difference here. When John said in direct speech, I, it changes to he. So the pronoun that we use depends on the speaker or the person who is speaking. When John said, we write he. When Sophia makes the same statement, it becomes she. When the pronoun we is used in direct speech, in indirect speech we write they. Our becomes their. Us changes to them. The pronoun you changes to either he or she. It's also possible that you changes to him or her in indirect speech. Your changes to his or her. Let's look at some examples. John said to Sophia, what is the problem? This is an interrogative sentence. When we change this sentence into indirect speech, John, since this is an interrogative sentence, John asked Sophia what her problem was. What her problem was. In this sentence, the pronoun your is used. One more example here. John said to Sophia, I will help you. John said to Sophia that he would help her. You changes to her in indirect speech. Have written it here. Either him or her when written in indirect speech. While reporting, it's necessary that we make some changes. But some words remain the same, they remain unchanged when changed into indirect speech. What are those words? Let's find out. Words that don't change. Words that don't change when we write them in indirect speech. Such words are should, could, might, must, ought to. These are modal auxiliaries. When these words are there in direct speech, when these words are given in direct speech, when we write them in indirect speech, we don't change them. We write the same. These modal auxiliaries remain unchanged. One of these modal auxiliaries, this one must, it can be changed even if we write the same in indirect speech, it's not a problem. If we are to change this modal auxiliary, we write had to in indirect speech. Look at these words had been, and the pronouns they, he, she, it, they remain unchanged. We don't have to make changes. When I said I changes to he or she in indirect speech, you might have got a doubt. What do pronouns like he, she, it, and they change to? They don't change, they remain the same. When words like those and that are given in direct speech, while reporting, we don't change them. They remain unchanged. Those and that. Here is a list of words that we must change when we write them in indirect speech. They are am, is, was. Are changes to were. Was, were, had been, don't, doesn't, didn't changes to hadn't, have been, has been, had been, a week ago. Remember this, a week ago. When we write this in indirect speech, we write a week before. Now changes to then, today, that day, tonight, that night, yesterday, the previous day, last week, the previous week, last night, the previous night, tomorrow, the next day, or the following day, here, there, these, those. These are some of the important words that we have to change when we report them. Let's move on to the next aspect, that is yes or no questions. When yes or no questions are given in direct speech, when we write them in indirect speech, we add if or whether. Let's look at some examples. Do you read books? Have you finished? Can you solve the problem? These three sentences here, they are interrogative sentences. These are called yes or no questions because answer to this question will be either yes or no. They are also called closed questions. Do you read books? Have you finished? Can you solve the problem? When such questions are asked or when such sentences are given in direct speech, when we write them in indirect speech, we must add either if or whether. Now read these sentences, the last three sentences here. What are you talking about? Why is he upset? How far is it? Tell me, do we need to add if or whether to these sentences when they are written in indirect speech? No, we need not add if or whether to these sentences because they are not, these sentences are not yes or no questions. They begin with WH words. When there are WH and H questions, we should not add if or whether to those sentences. The next point we are going to discuss is backshifting of tenses. What does backshifting of tenses mean? It means we have to change the tenses when we change sentences from direct to indirect speech. But there are certain exceptions to the rule. When there are habitual actions, when we report them, when we talk about habitual actions, the tenses don't change, they remain unchanged. To give you an example, you can see here Vijay said I play cricket every day. It's his habitual action. Vijay said I play cricket every day. When we change this into indirect speech, When we change it into indirect speech, we write it like this: Vijay said that I play cricket every day. One more example I can give you: she said I go to the church on Sundays. When this is written in indirect speech, it will be she said that she goes to the church on Sundays. When we talk about universal truths, the tenses don't change, they remain the same. To give an example, the teacher said the sun rises in the east. This sentence is a universal truth. So when we try to change this, when we try to write this in indirect speech, we write it like this: the teacher said that the sun rises in the east. One more point I would like to add here: if the reporting verb is in the simple present tense, it remains unchanged. We have to write the same. Here is an example for it. She says, I drink coffee daily. In this sentence, the reporting verb is says. This is in the simple present tense. Whenever the reporting verb is in the simple present tense, we don't change the tenses. So we write she says that I drink coffee daily. When the reporting verb is in the simple present tense, remember we don't have to change the tenses, it remains the same. While reporting a statement, or when we change sentences from direct to indirect speech, we change the tenses, or we shift the tenses. How tenses are shifted or how tenses are changed, let's find out with some examples. First example here: he said I go to the city. This sentence is in the simple present tense. When we change it into indirect speech, we write it in the simple past tense. So it becomes he said that he went to the city. One more example here: she said I didn't understand. This sentence is in the simple past tense. When the sentence is in the simple past tense, when we report it, we write it in the past perfect tense. How to write it in the past perfect tense? She said that she had not understood. She said that she had not understood. After hadn't, we write the past participle form of the verb. So it's not understand. She said that she had not understood. Third sentence here: John said, I can't believe it. John said that he couldn't believe it. It remains unchanged. Can't changes to couldn't. Last question here. Arun said, I am playing with my friends. Arun said that he was playing with his friends. Now let's learn how to use auxiliaries, primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries in indirect speech. I have already discussed it when I talked about the words that change. Was, are, were, was, had been, have, had, has been, have been, had been, don't, doesn't, didn't changes to hadn't. Modal auxiliaries: can becomes could, may becomes might, shall changes to should, will changes to would. All these points you need to keep in mind while answering questions on indirect speech. If you know how to change tenses, you can answer any question on indirect speech with confidence. Let's learn how tenses are shifted, and we'll also learn how verb forms change when we write sentences in indirect speech. As it's written on the board, simple present tense: if the statement or sentence that we are going to change or report, if it's in the simple present tense, in indirect speech we write it in the simple past tense. If the sentence is in the simple past tense, we have to write it in the past perfect tense. If the sentence is in the present continuous tense, we write it in the past continuous tense. And the last one, if the statement that we are going to report, if it's in the past continuous tense, we write it in the past perfect continuous tense. This statement or the sentence is in the simple present tense. When you get a statement or sentence like this in direct speech, if you are asked to change it into indirect speech, you have to write it like this. I I think about it. When it's reported, it becomes he or she, depending on the person who said it. He or she thought about it. You can see here, second form of the verb or past form of the verb is used. Look at this sentence. It's in the simple past tense. The sentence says, I didn't get the book. When changed into indirect speech, we write, he or she said that he or she hadn't got the book. Hadn't is used in the past perfect tense. When the sentence that we are going to report is in the simple past tense, it must be written in the past perfect tense when it's changed into indirect speech. Moving on to the next aspect, present continuous tense. If the sentence or the statement is in the present continuous tense, for example, I am trying. When the sentence is in the present continuous tense, we have to write it in the past continuous tense. When it's written, when this sentence is written in the past continuous tense, it becomes he or she was trying. Now let's look at past continuous tense. When the statement that we are going to report is in the past continuous tense, to give an example, I was watching the movie. This sentence is in the past continuous tense. When we report it, we have to write it in the past perfect continuous tense. When it's written in the past perfect continuous tense, it becomes he or she had been watching the movie. These examples make many points clear to us. When we get the word didn't, we have to write hadn't. Am changes to was changes to had been. When we write a sentence or a statement in reported speech, all these points we need to keep in mind. There are two questions here. Let's try to answer them. First question here, it's a conversation between two people, between John and Sophia. John, what are you talking about? We report this, we have to use a reporting verb. When we write this in indirect speech, it becomes the reporting verb that we should use here is asked, because this is an interrogative sentence. This is a question. So, John asked Sophia what she was talking about. Sophia replied that, the reporting verb that we use here is replied. Sophia replied that she was talking about yesterday's class. Sophia replied that she was talking about previous day's class. Previous day's class. Yesterday changes to previous day. Sophia replied that she was talking about the previous day's class. John, did you like the class? Again, it's a question. So let's use the reporting verb asked. John asked Sophia whether or if should be used, because this is a yes or no question. John asked Sophia if she liked the class. John asked Sophia if she liked the class. Sophia, yes, it was effective. Sophia replied in the positive. You can also say Sophia replied in the affirmative and said that. The reporting verb we use here is said that it was effective. Moving on to the second question. This conversation, as you can see here, it's between Vijay and Ajay. Vijay, I will come with you. Ajay, I am happy to hear that. Vijay, wait a minute. Ajay, it's getting late. Let's try to answer this question. Vijay told Ajay that, or Vijay said to Ajay that. The reporting verb here we can use is either said that or told that. Vijay told Ajay that he would come with him. Vijay told Ajay that he would come with him. Will changes to would. Ajay told Vijay that, or Ajay said to Vijay that he was happy to hear that. That remains unchanged in indirect speech. Vijay, wait a minute. Vijay told Ajay to wait a minute. Vijay told Ajay to wait a minute. When you are to report a statement like this, you are required to use the infinitive. Ajay, it's getting late. Ajay told Vijay that it was getting late. Ajay told Vijay that it was getting late. So, the most common reporting verbs that we use when we change sentences from direct to indirect speech are said that, told, replied, and asked. These are the most common reporting verbs that we use when we change sentences from direct to indirect speech. I repeat, said that, told, replied that, and asked. Let's discuss more statements that we find difficult when we try to change them into reported speech. Look at this one. Teacher said, don't close the door. Teacher said to the student. How to write this in indirect speech? Teacher told the student not to close the door. Teacher told the student not to close the door. When you are to write these kinds of statements in indirect speech, it's not easy. John said yes. John replied in the positive, or John replied in the affirmative. Thank you. John expressed gratitude, or John thanked. I am sorry. John said that he was sorry, or we can also say, John apologized. Well done. John congratulated, or John complimented. I'm sorry to hear that. John said that he was sorry to hear that, or John expressed regret. Great work. John complimented, or John appreciated. John, I am John. He said that he was John. Hello. John greeted. The reporting verb that we have to use here is greeted. Let's look at this one. Sophia, how about going to the cinema tonight? Sophia suggested. Here we had better use the reporting verb suggested. Sophia suggested going to the cinema that night. I repeat, Sophia suggested going to the cinema that night. The reporting verb proposed can also be used in this context. Sophia asked about him, or Sophia asked about her. Sophia said, okay. Sophia agreed. Please help me. Sophia requested her friend to help her. We have used the reporting verb requested because the word please is here. So we say Sophia requested her friend to help her. In today's class, we have discussed the topic indirect speech in detail. Hope this video comes handy when you deal with questions on indirect speech. Before I wind up, I would like to tell you something. While changing sentences from direct to indirect speech, care should be taken while changing tenses. In some cases, when we report habitual actions or universal truths, we don't change the tenses. Tenses remain unchanged. That's all for now. Though the video a bit long, it's worth the time. If you have any questions, post them in the comments section. Thanks for watching. Follow for more.